Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, episode number 19 of the, I almost said Scumbags of Wrestling because it is dedicated to the Scumbags of Wrestling tonight. Scumbags of Wrestling podcast at that. But it is, what's the date today? Thursday, May the 21st, 2020, which means some fucker out there, yes, explicit lyrics tonight, is turning 44 today. I'm going to bring him aboard. Hey, Shawn Bates of the Scumbags of Wrestling. What the fuck is going on, birthday boy?
I'm doing well. And, guess what? Hit the bricks. This is being taken over by scumbags tonight.
Okay, so hold on a second. If we're going scumbags, I'm going to do this. Nice little beer action going on. So Shawn is rocking the Hawaiian shirt. I've got the Sam Adams going on. Shawn has got the Palm Bay, which we're going to get into stories with, probably half an hour, 45 minutes from now. Why Palm Bay is relevant to some of these people on this show tonight. Specifically Shawn, myself. I'm going to add this guy named Jonesy. Jonesy, if you hear the word Palm Bay, does that mean anything to you?
Oh, yes.
Palm Bay.
And Steven, I know you're new to this, but that Palm Bay thing, what are you drinking? Oh, we get the Caesar. So Steven is true to his word. So we are a drinking show tonight. I am going to shut the hell up, in the words of Chris Jericho, so Shawn can take over the show. Scumbags of Wrestling. But anyways, folks, cheers to Shawn. Happy 44th birthday. It's been, Jesus, I've known you probably since the time I was 15 years old, so it's been a long time, man. But happy birthday. How's your week been?
It's been pretty good. Weather-wise, it's been awesome after a rainy weekend, long weekend, at least today. Amazing. Great for going out for a walk. It's sitting outside enjoying. My wife and I just had dinner, Qdoba. Had free Qdoba thanks to my birthday, so everything's going well. Job interview tomorrow, so we'll see how that ends up going. But this is now episode number 106 of the Scumbags of Wrestling podcast. So while you're joining us live here on Facebook and Twitch, you can also listen to this on the weekend on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or anywhere else you get your podcast from. And as you see right now, we got a round table going on. And we have a lot of topics to go to today. And unfortunately, 2 deaths.
Hold on. I'm going to hijack the show periodically here. But John Siegfried says, happy birthday, Shawn. Yes.
Thank you, John. Looking forward to seeing you again at the factory whenever life gets back to there. So, unfortunately, as I just mentioned, 2 deaths. We'll start off with 411 Mania. Writer, contributor Larry Csonka. Unfortunately, he passed away, and he recently had surgery that removed his legs, but he still was able to continue, obviously, writing and doing podcasts for 411. So we send condolences to the family of Larry Csonka. Anybody else familiar with Larry? Probably Maloney.
Just way back in the day, there was a certain level of journalists that existed when the internet kind of went about, and he was one of them, So I heard Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez talk highly about him. I'm not sure about Wei Ting and John Pollock, haven't heard anything about them commenting, but the fact is he was one of those historical wrestling journalists, I guess, when the internet boom happened way back in the late 90s there. But rest in peace there, Larry Csonka.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that that's happened. He did contribute a lot to the wrestling world as far as not necessarily dirt sheets, because he seemed to be more of opinion and dealing on fact, other than guys like Dave Meltzer, who likes to get phone calls from the Red Rooster every once in a while and put himself over in that way. But the other one, unfortunately, that I know everybody on this panel has heard of, and that is Shad Gaspard. One half of the Crime Time tag team with JTG. And just this weekend, he was in Venice Beach with his family, and a big undertow was going on. And he was able to save his son when the lifeguards were trying to clear the beach and get everybody out of the water. And he was able to get his son to rescue, and then he got swept away with the waves, and Coast Guard's looking for him. A lot of search parties, a couple days worth of it, and unfortunately nothing turned up until the other day when unfortunately, his body did get washed up on the shore. So, yeah, rest in peace, Shad Gaspard, part of Crime Time. Guys, your thoughts on the loss of Shad, 39 years old? Jonesy?
Jones?
Well, it's too bad that it happened the way that it did. I remember the tag team, but I didn't watch a lot of WWE at that time. But I probably might have seen him live before. But it's just too bad. I mean, young age, and just the way that this. I don't know. When you hear these stories a lot, I would think by now people that go out swimming, especially in the ocean, and that when there is that potential of undertow, that they would have little respirators with them so they could actually breathe when that stuff happens. I don't know why they don't make that mandatory, but anyways, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, in this case, he got swept out before he could even be saved. So, but he did save his son, so he's going out a hero. Steven, your thoughts on Crime Time and the loss of Shad Gaspard?
Well, I wasn't a big fan of Crime Time because I'm not a big fan of comedy wrestling, and that's what they were. But he definitely had talent. I really think that the WWE underutilized him. He probably could have been a lot better. I mean, better utilized and been in a more prominent role just based on look and size. But it's always sad to lose someone so young. He's only 3 years older than me, which is sad, and he's going to leave a family behind. So, thoughts and prayers are with his family.
Yeah, and Maloney, your thoughts?
So I'm simply going to read what I posted on Facebook yesterday. So Shad Gaspard got caught in a rip current this past Sunday in Venice Beach, California with his 10-year-old son. When the lifeguards reached him, Shad told him to take his son first. After a huge wave hit, Shad was no longer visible and his body was found very early this morning. That was yesterday, 39 years old. Been a wrestling fan for more than 40 years now, and the amount of wrestling talent that has succumbed to an early death due to drugs or alcohol is astonishing, and the media does their best to make their deaths look even worse. Shad's a former pro wrestler. Shad saved his son, and for that, he'll always be remembered as a hero. Not a pro wrestler, but a hero. And I simply put, hug your kids every chance you get, and let them know you love them. And I put RIP hashtag Shad Gaspard. So with regards to Shad, it's interesting the fact that they're in the wrestling business, they're relevant, and they go away from the wrestling business for whatever reason at all. You don't hear about these, from these guys 5, 6, 10 years, and then all of a sudden something like this happens. But the fact is, he went out a hero. I mean, to me as a father, I would have done the same thing. You know what I mean? Unfortunate, it went the way it did, but he'll always be remembered as a hero in my memory, anyways.
Yeah, I think actually just a couple of months before we got this whole lockdown and everything shutting down on the independent scene, him and JTG actually were recently part of Battle Arts with Anthony Corelli, and they did a show there with their one of their tag teams. So recently they did wrestle here in at least the Toronto area, Mississauga. So yeah,
I know. I was going to say George McKay of Straight Talk Wrestling has had some posts lately with regards to pictures of JTG and Shad with I think his wife, himself, and then his daughter as well. So you're right about that. But rest in peace, Shad.
Yeah. So we unfortunately had other news with the another death that got talked about, and in 2 days it'll be actually 21 years since Owen Hart fell. I know Jonesy was over at my house and we were watching the Over the Edge pay-per-view and having pizza, and all of a sudden that happened. The show kept on going. But this week, the final episode of Dark Side of the Ring was on, and we got to talk to Martha Hart, Oj, Athena, comments from Jim Cornette in a very un-Jim Cornette way, where he was very emotional. We saw Jim Ross and his thoughts, Jimmy Corderas with the guilt that he feels every day because Owen like brushed past him and apparently even called out "watch out below," even in that final moments as he was falling. Did you guys catch Dark Side of the Ring for episode number 10 of season 2?
Yes.
Your thoughts on it, Steven?
Broke my heart. I mean, I remember watching that pay-per-view, but maybe I've just mentally blocked that section of it out. But like listening to Jim Cornette break down, listening to the is it Oj? Is that how you pronounce it? Was like that whole family broke my heart. And I mean, they probably could have done 2 or 3 parts of the Owen Hart death. I mean, 45 minutes is not enough to cover everything. I wish that was a 2-parter just because there's so much more that you could have told. And I mean, he was probably should have been a world champion. I mean, he's probably one of the few who weren't a world champion that should have been. Just pure skill. He was pure skill, pure class, clearly. So, I mean, to lose someone so young and in the prime of their career is very disheartening on how he fell and that they switched the harness, which isn't. When she showed that clip, the
boat clip.
Yeah, that was. I didn't know. Did anyone else know about that clip being switched before?
I'd heard about the clip being different, and they wanted a quick release one because it sounded like he was going to end up descending. And just to go back a slight bit, the Wednesday mornings after it shows on Tuesday, Conrad Thompson has the guys who put it together. They take over JR's stream. And they were talking about it, and they could have gone a lot longer. Like you were saying, it should have been longer than 45 minutes. But apparently Martha is working on having a actual documentary, so they didn't really steal her thunder on the whole thing. And that's why they did only encapsulate it in that 45 minutes. But I was surprised that she actually had the evidence and stuff like that. But the initial thought was he was going to descend, and at one point even have Max Mini with him. So that even got taken away, thankfully, because who knows what would have happened to him. But it was supposed to land, quickly release, and attack the Godfather sort of scenario. And that's why they had that quick release and cheaper hook. And I guess they also, the guys that they had called, charged them a lot more. And then they went to the other company. And the first company felt bad that even though it should have cost more, they're willing to then go with the price that WWE wanted, and just because they felt that it wasn't safe. So yeah, definitely a good episode to watch. Maloney, your thoughts on it? Because I think you saw it.
Yeah, I watched it. It was it's funny how some of the stuff you kind of, I guess the best word is regress. You kind of put it in the back of your mind, never to be seen or thought of again. And the way when you watch it, it was, to me, the interesting part was the fact is you had Martha Hart on camera, plus the fact you had Oj, and then I think what his daughter's name, Athena, is that right?
Yep.
Sharing their thoughts, and Athena not so much, but Oj was, the biggest thing you've heard about the past 21 years is why isn't Owen Hart in the WWE Hall of Fame? And then to me, when you think about it, and no offense. And anytime you say that, you kind of mean offense. But the fact is, Coco Beware is in the WWE Hall of Fame. Hillbilly Jim's in the WWE Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? So it's the fact it's not a legitimate Hall of Fame. It's their Hall of Fame. And for the company that killed Owen Hart, for his wife to be basically saying, hey, I don't want this guy in your Hall of Fame. I do, his son, Oj, who is now a lawyer, saying the same sort of thing. It's you kind of get it. You kind of get the relevance behind it. So they've never said anything about the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, which I do believe he was inducted in 2018. But the fact is, you kind of understand seeing this documentary. But the fact is, I mean, I'll never forget. And I didn't order the pay-per-view that night, but in 1999, and I was online. It was the days of Merc, so MIRC, you know what I mean? You're on the wrestling chat rooms, and you're hearing about this stuff, and all of a sudden, they're like, Owen Hart's dead, and it's like, fuck you, yeah, right, he's dead, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you go into a little more detail as far as other chat rooms go, because the internet wasn't as big back then. And then next thing you know, you see wrestling websites back in the day, and I'm sure Larry Csonka was probably one of those guys, commenting on this. And then next thing you know, you realize CNN's commenting on it, CBC's commenting on it. It's like, holy crap. So I ordered the replay, and the replay had shown everything that the first show had shown. And obviously they didn't show anything at all. But what got to me the most last night was all the reports of the blood in the ring being from a hardcore match that had spilled out because of two other guys in that ring. And then when you see the police photos from the Martha Hart and the documentary last night, and you see that was actually Owen Hart's blood that was in that ring that you could see visible during the whole entire pay-per-view. That kind of got to me, It's one of those things that's, you could go 21 years, you could go 40 years, 50 years. The fact is May 23rd, 1999 is always going to remain relevant as a wrestling fan in the wrestling business. And the fact is, the biggest thing is, should have the show have continued? And some of the comments I've heard was, you're in shock, you don't know what to do. One of the things I've been hearing about the past couple of days is they should have shut the arena down, kicked out the fans. Police investigation. There was a guy that was killed that night beyond the wrestling business. You know what I mean? So, hindsight's 20/20, but the fact is, rest in peace, Owen. It's and the other thing that I saw last night was that clip, so to speak. 6 pounds of pressure would have released that thing. Owen was like 220, 230, and to me, that's. I'm sorry, Vince McMahon. That's fucking bullshit. And. Anyways, that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, you hit on a couple of things that I was going to talk about, and also ask Jonesy about, because when I asked if you'd seen the episode, both Maloney and Steven had said yes, but Jonesy had shook his head no. But I did say that we watched it together when it happened live. So thinking back to that day, Chris, what do you think about where it went from that day to possibly even now, 21 years later? And you're hearing what we're talking about, some of the things that came out, that they even were wrestling on broken boards. So what do you remember of that, Jonesy, and your thoughts about it 21 years later?
For me, it's very similar to when the other Hart member there died. Can't remember his name. The other one that died just before a pay-per-view. And at the beginning of the pay-per-view, they came on and said, Brian Pillman. And when the Owen Hart thing happened, it was very similar, that even now today, it seems unreal because it happened live. I agree that the show goes on, and I think they did the right thing by having it go on. And everything that happened with that harness, some of that technology was a little newer back then than it is now. And as soon as that happened, if anything good came out of that, is that safety measures were increasingly improved after that. And most concerts and that did not allow that for a few weeks until they knew exactly what happened. I would imagine now there probably isn't a quick release styled like that, because it's, again, obviously something went wrong, and it's tragic. As far as Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame, personally, no, I personally don't think he belongs in there. Neither does Coke or a lot of them. The problem with the Hall of Fame is they need to have sections. They need to have the heavyweight section and then the mid card and lower card, because a lot of those guys, like, I'm sorry, a guy like Brooklyn Brawler deserves to be in there more than Owen Hart, because I'm sorry. What he put over a lot of guys. he has a lot of talent. He had to do a lot of different things. Owen didn't even really want to be in the wrestling business as bad as a lot of his other family members. He enjoyed it, but he thought before that happened about leaving the business. I don't see Owen Hart. He became more famous because he died. If he did not die, I don't think a lot of people would be saying, hey, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame. To me, the Hall of Fame is the big players, not the smaller players that, yes, they had some good matches and that, but they didn't change the business. Owen Hart didn't change the business.
Yeah, well,
hold on, Jonesy. So fisticuffs are off, or handcuffs are off, or whatever the case. Are you fucking kidding me? Brawler over Owen Hart?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think
this could be a whole 12-hour. This could be a whole 12-hour show. I tell you that much.
Okay, hold on. Think of the career that both of them had as far as longevity. Think of the duties that Brooklyn Brawler had and what he had to do. To me, he is just as important as Owen Hart was. Owen Hart was always a middle carder. I'm sorry, he was a middle carder. Even when he went for the belt against Brett, which honestly I think they should have let him win, but he wasn't making them buckets of money. And what they were playing Brawler was probably a lot less than that what they were playing Hart. To me, it's again, guys like Brawler and some of those jobbers to me are just as important. Without them guys like Owen Hart would have never got over.
You guys ever see those Frankenstein things with the puffs coming out of the ears? That's what's going on with me right now. I'm ready to erupt.
Hey,
but
remember,
I will agree to disagree right now.
It's one person's opinion. It's one person's opinion.
Guys, I'm in the middle. I think Owen Hart does deserve to have a Hall of Fame induction. I can see why the family is saying no at the same time. And it was brought up by Chris Jericho. Had he lived longer, coming up after that was Chris Jericho coming, Benoit, Guerrero, Kurt Angle, and all these other guys that would have made Owen the central part. Like Owen would have been leading those guys and being in that mix. The sky was the limit. Unfortunately, Owen did have that chunk of time after Brett left and before he died where he was floundering because they didn't know what to do with him in a cartoon world and also the way they were boosting up the adult content, and he still wanted to be the family values. And so you even saw during that Dark Side of the Ring, Martha was saying, he kept on saying no to this, no to that. Didn't want to have the affair with Deborah and be in between Jeff Jarrett and Deborah and make it seem as though he was cheating on his wife. He had family values, but if he'd been able to live and see the guys like Kurt Angle and all that, maybe then Jonesy would be a little more convinced that he deserves the Hall of Fame. And to support Jonesy's Brooklyn Brawler comment, though, the guy had a very long career with WWE. He was at one point the gatekeeper to future superstars. That's why you saw Brooklyn Brawler going against Warrior, going against the different guys on superstars. If they made it past the Brooklyn Brawler and got his seal of approval, then they got to move up the card and actually have storylines. But he was the measuring stick. Like we end up eventually seeing guys like Sean Morley being that way and X-Pac. If they could get through them, then they got raised up. So to Chris's point, there is a reason to say, yes, Steve Lombardi could deserve a induction because of all the characters he did, what he meant to the company, because even behind the scenes, he was helping people with cutting their promos, and he helped elevate people, even if he was considered by most people on screen as a jobber.
Well, in Owen Hart, for many years, was a jobber. he was just a higher class jobber.
Until they finally allowed him to boost up, and Brett unselfishly put Owen over at WrestleMania 10 on his way to getting the championship from Yokozuna. So to a certain extent, like that was a brother trying to help his brother out, and 94 was an awesome year for it wasn't awesome.
Hold on. Why didn't you put that up last week when he was saying stuff about Sonny? Okay.
No, hold on. That's fantasy warfare. So everybody's entitled to their opinion.
I'm entitled to my own opinion.
Fucking hijacked show, I tell you.
I don't.
Daniel Coker says, "Happy birthday, Shawn." No Brooklyn Brawler comment there.
Thank you, dude.
It doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that's my opinion. That's it.
And there is support for it. Also, you did put up that John said that he felt bad for JR having to update with only 10 seconds to process the fact that Owen had passed away, and then needed to give it out to the audience.
I would think Jim Ross knew that he was dead, because when Jerry Lawler came back, you could just tell Jerry knew what was going to happen. Because for me, Jerry was in the toughest spot, because he had to go in that ring and then come down and talk to JR.
No, so JR didn't know until Kevin Dunn told him. It was JR said that on the episode last Tuesday. He didn't know until Kevin Dunn said, "Do you know the update or something?" And
yeah, but I think he knew, because again, you look at what Jerry Lawler, how he said it's not good. You could just tell. I mean, right then you knew something was severely wrong.
Yeah, because he was after he fell. Jerry was the one who nudged JR about it, and then Jerry got into the ring, and I think I recall the fact that Jerry had actually held Owen's head at one point, but they still ended up getting him to the back. During that podcast that I mentioned with Connor Thompson, the guys ended up saying that there was EMTs on site to be part of a skit later on, or a match, and so they were trying to figure out what to do with Owen and everything, and apparently it was The Rock who said, "No, guys, get him out of here," and into an ambulance, and on their way to the hospital. And then it was a doctor who called Martha to say, "Sorry, but he unfortunately couldn't do it any better and bring him back," and pronounced him dead. So if you haven't gotten a chance to see episode 10, I definitely recommend seeing that. Go back and watch some of the other episodes from season 1, and we're still waiting on an announcement for anything for season 3. If there was a season 3, is there anything you guys would like to see them try to tackle as part of an episode of Dark Side of the Ring?
So the sale of WCW to WWE. I'm sure there is so much that we don't know about behind the scenes that I think would be quite interesting, because I think there's a lot more to that story than from the failed Eric Bischoff purchase to it being sold for pennies on the dollar. I think that would be, there's got to be stuff that we don't know about yet about that sale.
Yeah, well, a lot of it also was entailed with the mergers that Ted Turner kept on doing with AOL and Time Warner and everything, and losing power. And they were dead set against having wrestling on their network, regardless of Eric doing anything. He would have needed to find a TV deal somewhere to make it viable. But yeah, there's that one.
Interesting backstory.
Mm-hmm. I'd also say even the passing of Miss Elizabeth and the circumstances with her relationship with even Randy, leading to eventually her relationship with Lex Luger. Anybody else?
China WWF steroid trial with Vince McMahon. The fact that Brian Pillman I mean, you can go on and on and on as far as stuff in wrestling that they've never talked about. You know what I mean? How much have they actually talked about Brian Pillman passing away? You know, stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And then you said the steroid trial. That one would be good to see. I thought of another one that was on Donahue with the, I guess, the sexual assaults or whatever that happened with Pat Patterson being accused, but it was actually the ring announcer. There was a whole episode of Donahue that happened with that.
Yeah, and one of the Killer Bees was on that. You can still find it on YouTube.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to see what they pull out for season 3. I think the franchise proved that people want to see it, especially in this environment of staying home. Documentaries, regardless of it being Dark Side of the Ring, Tiger King, or The Last Dance and The Last Ride, people are watching the behind the scenes stuff as opposed to action. So I hope they do have a season 3.
They could do a whole show on how the inability to get Roman Reigns over.
Oh, shade. It's getting shady in here.
Well, I guess that's an interesting way to segue to the next topic. Earlier this week, LuFisto came forward with some, I guess, remarks or definitely a statement about what footage has been used with their matches in CZW. And apparently their company is owned by also a core porn distributor, and they've taken some of the women's matches and events and reissued them under different titles such as Top Heavy and Cat Fights and everything. I think Chris is bringing up the announcement or the statement by LuFisto. So if we want to look back on that first.
Do you want to play that?
Yeah, you can play that in just a moment. And we'll CZW had a response along with some other female talent giving their feelings on the whole situation too. So Chris?
My name is Genevieve Goulet, and I've been working as LuFisto for the past 25 years. I am a very proud professional wrestler. I've always defended women's right in professional wrestling, and I will do so until I die. I don't know if you guys are aware, but lately, CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling, has been promoting us as softcore porn actresses. I am a professional wrestler. I'm not a cat fighter. I'm not a sweaty girl getting involved in dirty fights. And although, yes, I am top heavy and a very proud bottom heavy girl, nothing gives them the right to promote me as such. That's not what I signed up for. I am a professional athlete, and I should be treated as such. So are my colleagues. When I did contact CZW about the issue, I was told that the footage was sold to a third party that wanted to promote us as such, and that CZW couldn't do anything about it. Apparently they tried, which I think is total bullshit. When I mentioned to them that it was already very hard for us to deal with the creepy messages we get, the dick pics, borderline like harassment that we get daily from people who think that professional women wrestlers are actually porn stars or that are available for sexual favors, they just brushed it off saying, guys get that too. Well, the fact that a promotion we put our trust in is actually promoting us as such is not helping. You are part of the problem. We've been trying so hard for so many years to be taken seriously. There was such an evolution when it comes to women wrestling. And you, by doing that, by allowing that, and doing nothing because you have to remember, your name is on the brand. So don't give me a bullshit answer that you can't do nothing about this and that you tried. If you really cared about the women athletes who broke their back and bled for you, you would actually try a little bit harder. It's not bad enough that some of her matches end up on porn site without a consent. Now somebody we trusted with her name, images, and hope that they're going to promote good women professional wrestling is doing that is disrespectful and disgraceful. What's really sad about all this is that Combat Zone Wrestling is where I grew up as a competitor and where intergender wrestling was taken seriously. This is where I've been the first woman to enter the cage of death. It is also where I've won the CZW Iron Man Championship, the only woman who ever held CZW gold. What happened? Today, completely different? Looks like the John Zandig days are long gone. I'm very sorry I had to come up to this, but obviously my messages didn't do anything, so hopefully this video will wake up someone. To all the women wrestlers working for WSU or CZW, just be aware that they don't give a shit about you as a professional athlete as long as they can sell your ass and your tits. Just be aware of that. It is very disappointing. Hopefully this message changes things. Or not. Oh well. Thank you.
So yeah, as you just heard LuFisto say what all is going on, CZW's response was 2 years ago, CZW entered into a licensing agreement with a national media distributor to license CZW and WSU footage. That company has the right to utilize the footage without limitation. They have repackaged and renamed shows as it is their right to do so. Our athletes, regardless of gender, are just that, athletes, whom we are proud of and appreciate. We stand behind the ring action of all our footage. So they're kind of washing their hands of the whole thing, saying, hey, we have this footage, it got sold, whatever happens to it afterwards is not our problem. Now, this obviously is very exploitive of the women that have wrestled at CZW. Even Jordan Grace ended up issuing a statement, and she said that she's certain I never signed an agreement giving you the right to sell my intellectual property, nor did any of the women you're blatantly disrespecting. Or how about you told us you wouldn't book us unless you wouldn't fuck us. It's about time the harassment gets exposed. And actually, that was from Kimberly, who tweeted that one. Trish Parker, who's Jordan Grace, she said, and you were sued for licensing footage of women who didn't consent to being presented as softcore porn stars. I guess there's also accusations that they wouldn't get booked unless they shared a hotel room with the management of CZW and cuddled with them, not necessarily having sex, but this whole thing, putting out footage, and whether it's the women, and you kind of wonder if the guys are being exploited in that way too. Is it being sold off as gay porn to a male demographic if they're selling the women's footage? But if they're not, which is great for the guys that's not happening, but the disrespect that's happening to the women definitely needs to stop. I know I personally, if I saw CCW coming in the area, I probably won't buy a ticket to support them, but I do applaud the women who stood up to say no more. And your thoughts on this, guys? Start off with Jonesy.
without being able to see the contract, I mean, I can't comment on that part except CZW should have at least said, we will look into, as far as our distributor, that we don't want that happening anymore. Something to that point, because it could be that they've sold it to someone else and they can do whatever they want. And unfortunately, women wrestlers and women in general will always have to deal with being put on the sex side more than men. It's unfortunately the way it is. It can be changed, but it's going to take a lot more time. In ZZW, I do like it, but I don't take it as one of the more serious promotions out there. A lot of it is garbage wrestling. I do like a lot of it, and they bring in some great stars. But if you're looking for me to further your career, don't go to ZZW, because I mean they promote a lot of blood, guts, hate, and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did this type of stuff. So it's also a bad choice of who you're wrestling for. If you want to be put on a certain, equal with guys and stuff like that, which I don't think is ever going to happen, unfortunately, for the women. I do think they can be just as entertaining as the men, but that's my opinion. I could babble on, but
It's all good. Maloney, your thoughts?
There is not enough time in the day for me to basically go on about this. So, as you guys saw, basically, Shawn, as you're finishing up with the topic there, LuFisto shirt in my hand. I had the honor of interviewing her back in 2006. We touched base with her at, what was it, Palisade, London North, back in, 2013, I want to say?
Further back than that, I was right, same time as that HWF or debacle that happened at the Ukrainian club.
Yeah, so that would have been, that was 2013. We got to meet her and Leah Vaughn,
Two Cold Scorpio.
Two Cold Scorpio as well. The thing I will say about this is the fact is LuFisto has been the staple of Ontario Canadian women's wrestling here in Canada. When you mention CZW, she is the one name that comes to mind when you mention females in that promotion. If CZW had any kind of, let me say this, if they had any knowledge about this, what she's talking about, fuck them, fuck their promotion, shut them down, see you later, thanks for the memories, goodbye. LuFisto, for everything that she has been dealing with the past couple of years, including cancer, weight gain, weight loss, potentially retiring from wrestling. Last summer when I was at the Met in Toronto watching the women's show, also watching her being a replacement, I think, for Toni Storm, who was unable to compete in night 2. The fact is she came out, people marked out for her, people know who the hell she is. And I know, Shawn, you had the privilege to pick up and drive her and get to know LuFisto a little bit with Jordan Grace during the Comic-Con. But like I said, to CZW, if any of this was to their knowledge, fuck them, fuck their promotion, see you later. I will be a LuFisto fan for life, I tell you that much.
Yeah, according to their statements, they definitely knew what was going on and are just like, yep, whatever. Yeah, you worked it, we sold it, we got the money, and essentially it seems like they don't have any scruples at all. Steven, your thoughts?
Well, I wasn't a big CZW fan for the longest time. When they came to, and I saw them versus Smash in London, we saw MJF, who's obviously gone on to bigger and better things. We seen, I want to say the team name was The Rep. It was a tag team, and they were good. But, I mean, I'm not a garbage fan wrestling fan. so they can go fuck themselves.
And yet you're a fan of Jim Cornette.
Oh, we're not going there right now. We are agreeing on a couple things. The fucking Brooklyn Brawler thing and CZW. Now you want to go to Jim Cornette? You really want to go there before we're going to talk about AEW? Really?
Look at how he took defense to that right away, eh?
I think there's a heel turn coming.
Uh-oh.
Fuck, I'm going to scream at Chris. I'm sure of it soon.
Which one?
It might be Shawn's show tonight, but I still get that boot option. Don't forget that.
So yeah, hopefully in the end something gets corrected with this whole thing, because it's just utterly ridiculous that they've been exploited like this, whether it's Kimberly, LuFisto, Jordan Grace, any of the women. I think Casey Spinelli even worked there. Yeah, there's a number of women that worked there and legitimately wanted to put on a good show, not be exploited as cat fighters and for their different sizes or the size of their breasts and asses. That was Divas era, really, if you're going to go there. But we're not in that era, and it should never have been treated that way anyway, especially right now. And the whole Me Too movement going on. You did mention, Steven, that we're going to go on to AEW.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm not drunk enough.
I'm sorry. It is the weekend of Double or Nothing. It's happening this Saturday.
That?
I'm not. I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy it or not. It is
Money.
day off, but it is Double or Nothing on pay-per-view. Empty arena at Daly's place in Jacksonville, Florida, the home of the Jacksonville Jaguars, owned by Tony Khan and
Dad, let's get real.
Oh, true. And Tony's getting to live his dream through Daddy's wallet, but it is happening regardless of you wanting it to or not. So we're going to run down the card and match at a time. Thoughts on it? Who you think's going to win? And we'll finish up with the announcement of the shirt and poster and everything that's going to be happening with that. So on the pre-show.
Hold on. Are we talking about the shit from last night that I watched because I thought we were going to talk about it?
No, we're going to avoid what all happened.
Okay. Cool. I wasted my night last night to watch that shit.
Well, some of it will be relevant.
No.
Right? At least you watched it because it's leading up to what's happening. We're just going to run down the matches that happened because we saw Jake Roberts last night in a confrontation with Arn Anderson. Some really crazy bumps happening off ladders during the Orange Cassidy thing and the brawl that happened in the football stadium with the Elite and Inner Circle leading into the matches. But the opening match on the buy-in is going to be Private Party taking on Best Friends. And this is going to be a number one contendership match for the AEW tag team titles, which is currently held by Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. Thoughts on who's going to come out with the number one contendership?
Dark Order.
Can only wish.
I don't care. Two useless tag teams. Next.
Maloney.
So what match are we on?
Private Party against Best Friends for the number one contendership to the tag team titles.
Oh, the pre-show.
Pre-show, the buy-in.
All right, I got to go Best Friends in this one. No reason why, just Best Friends.
They're on an undefeated streak. Anyways, Jonesy, any thoughts?
Don't care.
Okay.
Jonesy with an imaginary coin toss for anybody listening on audio right now.
Yeah. Last night there was a Shawn Spears news segment, and he announced that Dustin Rhodes has retired, but then, oddly enough, challenged Dustin Rhodes to a match at Double or Nothing. And as JR said, why not? As opposed to the tagline with WWE for Edge and Orton being the greatest match ever. This one's why not? So Dustin versus Shawn Spears. Who do you have?
Spears for the win simply because of the fact that I want to see him elevated especially with the TNT Championship, Steven, on its way.
Steven, your thoughts?
Dark Order. No,
Number 10?
Fuck.
Who got his arm broken last night by
I'm sure. Fucking useless, dumb, stupid show that I watch. I'm going to assume Shawn Spears, but because it's Cody Rhodes' brother, who knows?
Well,
I'm hoping Shawn Spears, but fuck, these people don't know what the fuck they're doing, so I don't know anymore.
It's the second year in a row that Spears has gone against a member of the Rhodes family, and they seem to have dropped his search for a tag team partner. Maybe that's what Tully Blanchard's been doing, is hunting that tag team partner for Shawn Spears.
I watched that fucking news segment yesterday. Could they make him look any stupider?
No, probably not. Jonesy, are you watching AEW at all?
No, I am
Good.
not.
Don't waste your time.
So I'm going to unfortunately go with fortunately, unfortunately, I'm going to go with Shawn Spears. I'm a huge mark for Dustin Rhodes. But yeah, I'm going Shawn Spears. Obviously, I think it's going to be Private Party taking the loss in the pre-show. Last night, Dr. Britt Baker got injured during their tag team match, so she may or may not be going against Chris Statlander. If this match goes on, Statlander or Britt Baker?
Match isn't happening. I'm going to say that now. Apparently, she had a right knee injury that was kind of severe, so can't see the match happening. So Steven's going to say Dark Order. Jones?
No.
I'm going to say it's a double DQ.
I don't see the match happening, but I mean, you really think I'm going to take an alien? You really think I'm going to take a girl who thinks she's an alien?
I was going to say, does the alien get a match if the dentist doesn't come?
Oh, fucking probably Marvin the Martian's going to show up on this AEW fucking show. Fuck.
You most naughty humans, you've destroyed the space modulator. Therefore, kick Dustin in the nuts.
At least that would be entertaining. You sound entertaining. The shit I watched yesterday. Oh, fuck me.
So, yeah, if Breaker does make it, I do see her picking up the victory. But with that knee injury and having to put the match that happened last night into make it up as you go mode, yeah. It's highly doubtful that it'll happen. Speaking of the other half of that tag team match, the women's championship is on the line as the current champ Nyla Rose is defending against Hikaru Shida, who's been the number one contender for like 11 weeks and is now finally getting her title shot. Is the title change or does it stay on the champion?
Dark Order. I assume
they don't have a woman.
Fuck. Did you watch 10 wrestle? Pretty sure they do. I'm a hateful asshole. I know. You're welcome all. I'm going to assume Nyla Rose, but fuck. Who knows? It's a no disqualification, no fucking count out, horseshit match. But because Nyla Rose won yesterday, it's probably going to be Shida.
But Shida did put Rose through a table.
Oh, who?
So you think the title's going to remain? Chris, your thoughts? Maloney.
I go Shida. If they honestly don't put the title on Shida, what the hell's the sense of building her up? I saw something like she's been the women's number one contender for like 11 weeks in a row or something like that. So yeah. It's even with that loss to last night, the fact is if they don't do it now, what the hell's the sense of even having a women's title? So
yeah, I know I'm a fan of Shida as well, but it's unfortunate. I do think they're going to try and keep the native beast strong, regardless of what people are thinking with somebody transgender holding a title or not. So then we get into some of the bigger matches. Well, not necessarily. MJF taking on Jungle Boy, or as JR calls him, Jungle Boy Jack Perry. What do you got going on with that?
at least these two are entertaining. These two, there's 3 people in AEW that I want to watch. 4, I guess. Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, not that horseshit, especially after last night, and MJF, who's probably the best wrestler under 30 right now.
I would agree.
But
So who are you going with?
I'm going to say MJF, but it's going to be with the ring. It's going to be a cheap shot with the ring on the hand.
And some involvement with Wardlow and Luchasaurus?
Oh, yeah, that's I think Luchasaurus or Wardlow screws Luchasaurus out of the fucking climb a ladder for a chip. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute.
Maloney, your thoughts on the MJF Jungle Boy match?
So here's my take, and this is future, but the fact is I see Jungle Boy eventually going heel. I think he beats MJF in this one, simply because of the fact that MJF thinks he's unstoppable. The fact is he gets beat by fucking Jungle Boy of all people. So the fact is MJF takes the loss, feud continues, eventually heel turn by, like I said, Jungle Boy, and we'll see where it goes from there. But not right away, 3-4 months, we'll see Jungle Boy take the heel turn. But I think this sets up for Jungle Boy to eventually, I'm going to say this right now, align with MJF down the future. So, but for tomorrow night, Saturday night, Saturday night, Jungle Boy with the win.
I'm going with MJF. He's one of the top guys, as Steven said, under 30. And he's been undefeated and probably going to go for a title shot soon.
Hey, Jones, in relevance to back in the day, it'd be Roddy Piper taking on Jim Brunzell. Who's your pick?
Piper.
Okay, so then, as Steven mentioned, there's going to be their casino ladder match for a future AEW World Championship match. Basically, the same month as Money in the Bank, they're going to do their own Money in the Bank, but don't call us WWE. Except for they're going to be climbing a ladder for a big poker chip and only have people coming out at one point and then every 30 seconds or something until all 9 are out there. Currently, there's Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Rey Fenix, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, Frankie Kazarian, Luchasaurus, and a yet-to-be-named competitor, which could be anybody that I don't think anybody from WWE has been cleared yet from their 90 days. So
It'll be the natural. It'll be the natural Dustin Rhodes. He'll come out and win that match.
That's who you're going to say is to be announced.
That's who I'm going to say.
With what they did last night, it could be Jimmy Havoc. Though, of course, Rey Fenix might be dead after the bump that he took last night. He almost looked like he basically spiked himself onto the floor because he missed his tope suicida. No, he did a springboard and then flip into a pile that didn't catch him properly. So, guys, who do you think is going to win the poker chip for a future title shot? Maloney?
So it was 14 monkey flips into 14 screws into, from the McDonald's sign across the way to the Wendy's sign, Anyway, Phoenix said he's going to be in that match no matter what. But, it's hopefully he recovers. He's Mexican. The fact is he's tough. My guess, and this is, I guess, WWE booking and AEW, I'm going to say Scorpio Sky just from the way they've been promoting him the past couple months.
Steven?
I'd assume Darby Allin, but it's gonna be someone stupid as that surprise guy. It's gonna be probably the guy with no legs that was in that first Battle Royal, way back a year ago, or fucking Marco Stunt's gonna win it because it's gonna be something stupid and I'm gonna be pissed.
Billy Gunn.
Oh fuck.
Do you wake up in the morning, the first words out of your mouth, you're like, oh fuck?
Yeah, usually. I would hope it's Darby Allin or Scorpio Sky because those at least are legitimate people I could watch. You also forgot Colt Cabana's in the stupid match, and it's going to be stupid because they can't just do – at least they had a unique Battle Royal the last year when they had the 5-5-5. But they're going to do something retarded, and I'm going to end up being pissed. So I'm going to assume Scorpio Sky or Darby Allin, but –
yeah, those would be the those would be the two that I would go for and hope for, especially Darby Allin. Like he's so close to beating Cody and getting to that next level, and hopefully maybe that poker chip is what does it for him, and he could trade it in actually for a skateboard instead of carrying that around, depending on if they have to carry it around like the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Can you take that poker chip and just go to the casino and go all in on Plaid?
Lose $200 in like half an hour?
What's that?
Well, he's talking about gambling.
Yeah.
So true story. I did watch Jones lose about $200 in Niagara Casino in about half an hour.
$240, and I believe it was 10 minutes. It happens. It just happens.
hey, it's better than losing all of Tony Khan's money.
So you would gamble that poker chip to lead to a $30,000 championship. And anyways, common sense.
Well, it's only an AEW championship, James.
Thank you.
But it means the world because up next, as I was going to just say, Jon Moxley tries to get back his championship, even though he's still the champion, from Brody Lee, the exalted one and leader of the Dark Order. Thankfully, I guess, in a way, he's there since Uno and Grayson can't be. But, yeah, they sacrificed 10 the other day to get his arm broken by Moxley, and they walked out on him. Moxley retained or Brody Lee your new champ? Steven?
I'll be about 4 or 5 beers deep about this point. So as long as it's a good match, who cares? Because it's going to be a brawl. You know that. My interesting point is going to be where they go after Moxley wins this and who takes the title off of Moxley. That's what I'm wondering. You think so?
They need somebody finally from not WWE to be competing for that title. What
about Jones running?
Who?
Jones, that guy who's like right below you on the screen.
Oh,
you've known the guy since what, 1990s probably.
Yeah,
I'd sooner see Jones. I'd sooner see Jones as AEW champion than fucking MJF.
I could do it. I'd probably be blown up after the match, but I could definitely do it.
he's about the same size as Marco Stunt.
No, Marco Stunt's I shit bigger things than Marco Stunt.
Hey! I put on some weight. I'm actually, I think, at my heaviest I've ever been.
Oh, hold back, Steven. Your thoughts on the AEW championship? We're losing control.
Hey, you started with that fucking Hawaiian shirt over there.
This is another dumb match. I'm assuming that Brody Lee is going to lose because he stole the title, but fucking who knows? Fuck. Did they kick Grayson and Uno out yesterday too? It sounded like it. Stupid. Why the fuck are they doing stupid? And did I forget to say stupid ass shit?
Good question.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
It's don't call me WWE.
It's exactly what it is. It's WWE minus the production and the stuff. Fuck. It's bad. They fucking had a child wrestle MJF. Like a 3-year-old child.
Like a 9-year-old against MJF.
Let's not.
I see Moxley retaining. Hopefully, he eventually gets into a fight with somebody who is not a former WWE talent. So yeah. Then we got 2 matches left. The Stadium Stampede with Matt Hardy and the Elite, which is Kenny Omega, Adam Page, Matt and Nick Jackson taking on the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, and Santana and Ortiz. Apparently, there's going to be a ring at the 50-yard line, but they don't necessarily have to use that because they can go all over the place and falls count anywhere. So they're going to have probably at least 5 different refs just to see what's going on. Like, I don't know. Does Sammy Guevara get at least run over by a golf cart again? What side's going to win this one?
Dark Order.
And do we see a new Vanguard
fights better than the fucking rest that shit that was on yesterday? These people don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're making Kenny look really bad. For a guy who has been labeled the best in the world for everything he did over in Japan and being an executive producer over in AEW, he's not living up to the moniker.
Did you see him throw that small-ass garbage can at them? Hey, stop. Stop it. Like, it was bad. These people don't know what they're doing. Kenny Omega, I actually could watch his matches in Japan. Chris, you cannot say that.
And they're still playing up the dissension with Adam Page with the Young Bucks and where he's sitting with Kenny. Yeah, for some reason, I see it going Inner Circle on this one. But Maloney, your thoughts?
So first of all, Steven, fuck you. Omega is always going to be God.
Stupid.
Secondly, as far as this match goes, we will see another golf cart play into it. You know what's going to happen. Thirdly, fact is, as much as I love Omega, I see Inner Circle going over. The fact is, there's too much dissension as far as the elite goes. Matt Hardy is just, that fifth wheel, so to speak. But you still have the issues with Hangman Page that you see. Obviously, you saw play out last night, him walking away from the group. But he's got mixed emotions right now. But the fact is, it's only a matter of time before we see true feud between him and Omega, and then obviously him and Matt Jackson, the way that plays out. So, but Inner Circle for the win Saturday night.
And of course, Steven's favorite time of the show, what is probably going to be the main event, because they want to say that the TNT title is on the same line as the AEW championship. It's going to be presented by 1998 called Mike Tyson. Don't call us WWE because we got Mike Tyson here either. But Mike Tyson's going to present the title. Sting was supposed to be rumored to be doing that, but the TNT Championship will be decided finally between Cody, who will have Brandy and Arn in his corner, taking on the Murder Hawk Monster. So many monikers there. Lance Archer, who will have Jake the Snake Roberts with him. Who's going to be the first TNT champion? Steven?
Archer.
Jonesy's going Archer?
Yep.
I'm agreeing with Jonesy. I got to go Archer as well.
Oh, fuck. Oh, I was more interested in Arn Anderson and Jake the Snake Robert yesterday than this match. I'm going to assume it's going to be Cody Rhodes, only because if he doesn't win something, I'm sure there'll be. Do these people know what they're doing? Like,
I'm not sure. Yeah, because they keep on wanting to say also that they don't want to be in the same position as, say, Triple H and all that, putting the titles on themselves. And so that's probably why Cody hasn't won the AEW championship and put in that stipulation that if he had lost that one match, he wasn't going to be able to fight for it. And now all of a sudden there's this new title that he can fight for and be the number one contender with. But I think he's going to screw himself again and come up looking like a failure. And that's going to lead to more storyline. And as both Chris said, Lance Archer is going to be the champion.
But that's just another fucking, fuck. Oh, these guys are morons.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying the way they're doing their stories and the way they are, Cody's presenting himself. And then he's going to be like, oh, should I be on the management side or should I be a wrestler? And what's going on? Does Arn Anderson turn on him? Who knows? But that's where I see things ending, and instead of sending there's no fans, but sending people home happy or turning off their TV happy, you're going to have Jake with Lance Archer holding that championship.
I mean, fuck. At least they could have held off on the stupid stadium match and had Cody Rhodes in there instead of fucking Matt Hardy. At least then it kind of makes sense when they were going to do the what the fuck were they going to call their War Games match? Blood and Guts, because that's a dumbass name.
It's surprising they pulled that out, but
Blood and Guts, that was the name of an old TNA pay-per-view, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Let's take as much as we can from WCW, WWE, TNA. These people are a bunch of fucking morons. I assume that Cody or that either if Brady Rhodes or Arn Anderson are going to, or fucking DDP probably is going to turn on. No, I will not let it go. I try to watch it every week because I think, oh, fuck, they have some really good talent, and these fucking morons don't know what they're doing.
Actually, I can see Brandy turning because they did abruptly drop that whole craziness that she was doing. But then when she had that thing about that comment she had towards Jake Roberts, and there was even that mix-up that happened during Cody's, I think, semifinal match with Darby Allin. It wouldn't surprise me if she aligned herself and went back to that nightmare family craziness that they dropped all of a sudden.
Oh, I expect it to be dumb, but I'm assuming Cody should win, but I don't fucking.
All right, so time for Maloney to hijack the show. So Brandy Rhodes is hot. We'll leave it at that. So, well, I'm almost done though. Yeah. Anyways, long story short, AEW for a Double or Nothing, 8 o'clock on Saturday on Fight as well as VR Live. And then the pre-show takes place 7 p.m. usually on YouTube and stuff like that. So before Shawn gets into his scumbag stuff, here we go. Questions with Shawn. We had some music. So first question from last week is what I want to know. So Shawn's such a huge fan of Randy Macho Man Savage. So a lot of people know Birthday Boy became a fan of wrestling when Savage hit Steamboat with the bell. What was it? The bell? Is that right? Yeah. So anyways, so when Hogan, who Shawn despises, teamed with Savage, did it wreck Savage's credibility and your credibility as a fan for Savage?
No, because Savage made Hogan, in my opinion, relevant. Well, Savage made Hogan relevant to me, in my opinion, at that point.
All
right, next.
I said before, if Hogan showed up on the A-Team promoting WrestleMania 1 and 2, I didn't like those episodes of the A-Team, really. I was just tuned out as a kid who was 8 or 9 during those ones. But as a 10-year-old kid, seeing Randy Savage break Steamboat's neck, loved it. And then Hogan got credibility through Savage.
All right, so next question for you. If Savage hadn't picked Miss Elizabeth, who would have been the best manager for him?
Well, he did have Jimmy Hart down in the Memphis area. So either Jimmy or the Brain.
Greatest wrestling event you've ever seen up close as far as pro wrestling goes?
Oh, I know. ICW Western Fair.
Okay, ICW.
I said pro wrestling, Jones, not fucking.
That was pro wrestling.
That was pro. It was a Hart Brothers School of Wrestling.
Oh, don't get me started on Hart Brothers. There's two separate Hart Brothers. There's the one that's in Calgary. There's the one that's in Cambridge. And the one that was in Cambridge, we can go a whole fucking show talking about that shit. So
it had a future Hall of Famer on it.
Edge and Christian were both there.
Okay, let's talk about an arena that held more than probably 1,000 people then.
Oh, well, if you're going with only that for more than 1,000 people, then yeah, I'm going to have to go with probably WrestleMania 23 in Detroit. But if you were going to allow any event, I was actually going to lean towards the Northern Tournament of 2000. 18. David and I went to that, and it was 2 events in one day. So you saw 16 matches, and the first match was amazing, and it just kept on climbing to a bigger and better match. Like, I couldn't believe that they could improve upon what you just saw, and it did do that without a dull moment. And that would be the best indie show that I probably went to.
Greatest wrestling event you've watched on pay-per-view more than 10 times over?
More than 10 times to watch the same one?
I've watched them all these 10 times.
No, probably not. I go back to WrestleMania 4 because it's Savage 4 matches, winning the championship, and that's what I started watching a lot. And people crap on 4 for his presentation, but you can't go wrong with a tournament like that.
Greatest independent star that you've met personally and professionally?
Well, probably Tyson. That's why he's a favorite of ours for on here. I actually wear the hoodie as a normal sweater to wear, not just because I go to a wrestling show. Hang out over at the factory. So it'd probably be Tyson.
The year that Louisa finally becomes a real pro wrestling fan?
Probably never. However, Jonesy and I did get her to watch Beyond the Mat. And this past weekend, I actually had her sitting down watching Undertaker's Last Bride, episodes 1 and 2. 2 hours straight, she sat down to watch that.
So this may be, it's a one question thing, but it might go into a little further detail. Greatest moment from your wedding?
Well, obviously the actual ceremony itself. If you go beyond that, you have a mixture of 2 things, because we had a big wedding party, and the guys during the rehearsal were all doing the Dan O'Brien yes, but also at the reception, father-in-law had his Palm Bay and led his train, and you can just hear the laughter of Jonesy and Colin and everybody through that picture, just the way it came out. So yeah, some of the top moments.
So
I'd like to see him at a wrestling event. I'd like to see Lou come to a wrestling event. I think that would be hilarious.
So a short story for everybody as fans of the show, but so what happened is Shawn had his bachelor party up in the Goderich location, and it was a weekend just of the guys. And it was a great weekend. I had brought up some Palm Bays, stuck them in the fridge, and then Shawn sees his future father-in-law drinking a Palm Bay about 7 a.m. and say, "This is good shit." And all of a sudden, he didn't realize it was alcoholic. So what happens is all of a sudden Shawn's wedding takes place, and there is a good picture of Shawn's father-in-law leading a train with a Palm Bay in his hand. I get married a couple of years later, and next thing you know, same guy. So Shawn's father-in-law leads another train. There is a video of it. The only fucking thing I had forgotten was Palm Bay. But yeah, there is historic value behind Shawn's father-in-law. The amazing sausage man, as I call him. It's and I love to see him at a wrestling event. Give him a Palm Bay in hand, and marking out or yelling at guys like MJF. I think it'd be hilarious. But what else can we ask him, Shawn? Let me ask you this: why the podcast? So I remember this guy about a couple of years ago, Shy on the Sharpshooter podcast, all of a sudden thinking about branching out to do this thing called Scumbags Podcast. And the next thing you know, it hits. Now he's at, 106 episodes? Is that right?
This is number 106.
So what future plans do you have? How much bigger do you want to make this baby of yours?
Well, I am trying to figure out how many questions. That would be generic for everybody, mind you. But I'm thinking 40 questions with, or something like that, and run a gambit with different stars. So I'm just working on the questions, and that is a potential show that I'm thinking of. I came up with the concept that we do every weekend on our Patreon with, yes, I saw that, John. every weekend with our fantasy warfare. So we do that here on TNT, and hopefully people subscribe to that, and we get money for charity. And with John's comment of when Shawn going to step in the ring, when we started this TNT show, I did throw down a suggestion of us becoming referees. There was a thought of, by the time we're 45, trying to make that happen. So with this being my 44th birthday, I have now exactly 1 year, 365 days to maybe make that happen because of our current situation. That's delayed for sure. If the factory reopens and everything, I did talk to Tyson about what costs were and what would be expected, or what he would recommend, or what it would entail to do that. So I've looked into it at least. And so, yeah, there's that. And we already do the other shows with the Indie Road Trip and production line. So there's always things coming up, and this downtime has made me think more creatively.
All right, so I just got to add this. You realize my lineage, okay? My personal family lineage. My great uncle, his last match that he refereed, he was tossed out of the ring by Andre the Giant and dislocated his shoulder. So you've got a lot of training to do, dude. I'm natural. You're not.
Okay.
All right, so last couple questions. Hawaiian shirt, is that the best one you own?
Yeah, probably, because I only own this one that I got on my trip last year, and I got this in St. Lucia. Yes, I got this in St. Lucia just after I did some zip lining through rainforest, and we were in the port, and I found this one for like $10. And then Louisa was just recently in Antigua and brought back 2 other ones.
All right, so the last 2 questions for me. Number 1, do you still have the scar from your bachelor party?
Yes, I do.
I will post a photo.
High wire for doing. We were doing high ropes at Camp Kintail, and Colin went ahead of me, and it was windy, but he was doing the shimmy slide concept. And even though I'm afraid of heights, I was like, F you, I'm going to do this and do it the proper way. And it was 3 ropes, and they were shaking, and I actually went down. There's a video of it, but I got myself back up on there and finished it, walked backwards, and got lowered down, and have a scar for the remembrance.
Is it Smurfette shirt or Papa Smurf?
That was a Smurfette shirt that Colin got me that was multiple sizes too small, and said about being the groom.
Same color. Yeah, so that yellow kind of matched the color in his Hawaiian shirt right now. All right, last question for you from me. Worst co-host we've ever had on this show?
Well, if those watching saw the fact that, listening, Chris Maloney is above Steven and is pointing down, and Steven pointed up with the Texas State bird. So, yeah, that's where he's hinting at that. I don't think we've had really a bad host. I want to have people here, so I'm not going to insult anybody. And we want to invite anybody else to show up and be a part of the show if possible.
All right, so true story, guys. 1992, I think. That's where I got to meet Shawn for the very first time. Lunch table down in Montcalm Secondary School here in London, playing euchre, sticking gummy bears to the ceiling. But Shawn, happy 44th birthday from me to you. This whole fucking quarantine, fucking coronavirus shit. Otherwise, we'd be out for beers on a patio someplace where I actually got to meet Jones at place downtown. It doesn't exist anymore. But what was that old bar that used to be right across from Seeps?
No, actually, you guys saw each other. I thought at Krabby Joe's first, and then we were downtown.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I think it was Ed that I met that night then.
Yeah, now it's Jack Asker's.
Yeah,
I just remember the night at Spooner's or the Shack or whatever the hell that place was called. Mavericks? Was it Mavericks at the time?
Mavericks.
Yeah.
All right, Steven Jones, any comments or questions for Shawn on his actual 44th birthday as he ditches his wife to do this show with us?
Well, I get
Go ahead.
that. Jericho Cruise 2021, I think. You guys in?
I would love to.
Yeah, he's Siegfried, TJ Baxter's. Forgot all about the name of that. That's what the name of that place was, yeah.
Yeah. It was one of the last times it was TJ's.
Jericho Cruise when?
2021, I think, is the next one.
I would fucking be all over. I was going to go to Japan for Wrestle Kingdom next year, but obviously that's not happening. So I'm down. Jones?
Depending on the price.
It is a little steep, but the ships, I will say, are amazing. Both ships that Jericho's used, I've actually been on. The first one was the Norwegian Jade, and the last year was Norwegian Pearl. And I love both of those ships. They're almost identical to each other. And so Norwegian Cruise Lines, I recommend them even if you don't go on Jericho Cruise.
So New Japan was going to cost me about for 10 days, it's going to cost me about $3,000. So Jericho Cruise, is that within that?
It's about that.
Okay, so I'm down. Steven, you got me going aboard with you. Stay away from me if we're on the cruise together.
Fuck. Why? Because you think I'm going to get thrown overboard? Because I can't keep my mouth shut? That's very
See, in my case, I would have to find a way of paying for the Jericho Cruise for me and a regular cabin for Louisa, and because she wouldn't want to take part in the Jericho stuff, but
just tell her to stay home.
She'd want to go on the cruise at least.
Just tell her to stay home.
But at the same time, it's only a 4-day cruise.
She can't go on the cruise unless she's willing to sit and do some heckling.
Well, of all the people I know as far as wrestling goes, Jones, you're the guy who she wants to sit next to.
Probably.
Yeah.
Jones, any questions for the birthday boy?
No, but just congratulations on wow, double 4 horsemen.
All right, Shawn, do your pitch here. Scumbags of Wrestling, hashtag we are scumbags, /Facebook. I got the / wrong. Facebook.com/groups/ it's on the screen, people. I'm stumbling my words. Shawn, what's going on? What are you looking? Here's the last question I'm going to ask you, okay? The end of the year comes. Wrestling's back in business. Where do you hope the Scumbags of Wrestling to be at the end of 2020? This fucking bullshit year, by the way.
Well, hopefully hitting a bunch of different indie shows and doing what we got the pleasure and fun to do with Midwestern Wrestling, setting up a table, running down the show, helping promote it beforehand, during, after, getting talent out there, even if it's crazy as Jordan James going crazy. We also had Hello Beefcake peeking in. If I can do more of those type of things, it would be amazing. And we're trying to expand. And before we get to all that you were saying about running down my hashtags and where you can find us and everything.
Do you want me to post it?
Yes. Episode 100, we gave a sneak preview of our brand new shirt that Nigel Lewis from NCL Designs, I believe it is, on Instagram. He created this amazing shirt that we're working with. It's on the screen. It's in celebration of indie wrestling, support indie wrestling. Our printer, Twisted Tees, I'm going to be talking to Daryl and getting out there selling these shirts for $30. And I really don't need the money, just like we said, for the Patreon. And I'm looking to give to charity after we end up getting these printed. Also going to be printing posters, probably 11 by 17 size, with inspired by Cody Deaner as well, for them to go on sale and go for charity as well. As you see here, this is definitely celebrating the who's who of the Ontario indie scene. There's so many people that are still off it, but right here is 21 of the current and future stars of the area. and would love for you to be able to get involved with it. So starting this weekend, if you go to our Facebook page or personally message me, you can start purchasing, ordering ahead your official Scumbags of Wrestling t-shirt. Nigel is making a little bit of an adjustment to this picture where it's going to look like a comic book cover. So he said he should have it tonight. So look for the comic book version of this poster on our Scumbags of Wrestling page. Email me, go through our personal direct messaging, and you can find out how you can get the shirt, get the poster, and support a cause. We talked about Steven's wrestling journey last week. I'm looking at possibly supporting that one through Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. And this past weekend, after Nigel sent me this poster, I contacted the talent that are on it. Most of them got back to me and were just blown away by what they're seeing. There's a few that didn't get back to me, but they were totally supportive of their likeness being used. Yeah, Carter Mason wanted to instantly put up his picture because he loved how it turned out. Shiloh wanted to. There's a lot of great talent that's on there. Support indie wrestling, and we'll start taking orders this weekend. Guys, your thoughts on what Nigel did?
I love it. I already told you I want one, and I'm guessing if there's any people in the Toronto area that are ordering, they can all be sent to me, and I can make sure that they get delivered because, well, I'm here. I'm excited. I have an idea, but we'll talk about it after that we could do.
For sure. Jonesy, your thoughts on it?
It's a gorgeous picture. Very talented artist. Some of the drawings remind me a bit of video game. I want to say Fatal Fury. I'm not sure if I got the right game. It was a Neo Geo fight game. It was like a ripoff of Street Fighter, but it kind of has that look to it. I really I like it.
Yeah, I stumbled upon Nigel's work when I saw a drawing he did for Jody Threat, and I ended up seeing stuff he did with old-time, golden era WWE talent, Shotzi Blackheart, Kenny Omega, and just knew that he was going to be the right guy to be able to do this. Maloney, your thoughts?
I don't want to have to ban you from your own birthday show for saying that name on this show. Just call her that fucking green-haired whatever NXT star. Anyways, yeah. I tell you this, props for that shirt. I mean, I'm kind of a little bit envious. That the fucking thing is amazing. I tell you this, I'll order a t-shirt right now. I will order, and if you can get this poster size, that would be the coolest thing in the world to get that poster size, and then basically have that on the wall someplace in my future rec room, autographed by all those guys. What I want to know is who's the one down in the left-hand corner there, doing the fist to whoever's laying on the ground. Who are those two people?
Well, that's Sebastian Suave, and I'm having a feeling, just looking at what Nigel put out, that Jordan James made 2 appearances on this poster as he's flying through the air in the upper right-hand corner underneath Casey Spinelli's arm. But I think, unfortunately, he's getting beat up by Sebastian.
Yeah, so in saying that, Sebastian, you never looked so good. Apparently the cartoon version of you suits you well. But yeah, for sure, definitely a great concept as far as wrestling art goes, especially as far as the Ontario independent scene goes. Definitely want a t-shirt. Like I said, I'd love to have a poster size thing autographed by everybody. Comment coming in, pretty sure. Oh, Daniel Coper says, Chris, no love for Shotzi. Yeah, she's at, anyways, nope, another show. Thanks for the love.
You know, showed Shock Stock.
Yeah, well, no, anyways, we'll leave it at that.
Herself.
Wait, what?
She double booked herself, didn't show up at Shock Stock, and just barely made it to Smash.
Yeah, so anyways, guys, I'm going to do this because this is our next. This is the longest show, by the way, in the history of TNT. So thanks, Shawn. McChatty on his birthday.
This is not TNT. This is Scumbags 106.
Okay, so Scumbags 106. My apologies. So, Jones, it looks like you are in as far as doing the Fantasy Warfare tournament coming up. Looks like Sunday, if you're going to be available. Obviously, Sunday night we'll do the recording. Monday it should be released. I've got some ideas because Patreon is not taking off. It doesn't mean I'm not going to continue with it, but I've got some ideas as far as what to do with the content. I mean, it is a part of this show, the Scumbags, as well as TNT. We just have fun doing it. It's something, we're not talking about wrestling topics that happen every single week. It's basically stuff that...
You need nudity.
Nah, dude, I'm going to kick you from the show. Anyways, Jones, Steven,
don't worry, I have pasties on.
Oh, nice. So Jones and Steven, looks like you're part of the next Fantasy Warfare tournament with Shawn there. You guys want to talk about what's coming up and some of the names being this was hard because the fact is you can go probably 64 people in this tournament easily, and we had to narrow it down to 16. So the way it worked, I will not be part of the show because we have to take even numbers, so we have to take odd numbers. So I did have my picks, so my picks are in there, but Shawn, Steven, Jonesy will be in it. I will simply just be producing it. I'm going to go behind the scenes like Jones did last time, be the stats guy behind everything. Love some Ultimate Warrior stats coming in. I'm gonna have some fun with this. But guys, you want to talk about what the next show has to include there on Patreon?
I'd like to add one thing to the tournament. When there's a fourth person, I think that as the fourth person, you should have a little coin that you can take someone's vote and change it. I think you should have the power. In the preliminary rounds.
That would be interesting. That's something to think. We'll go 3-man this coming Sunday, but that is something to think about. That would actually be cool but the problem is if I'm on the other side of things, Steven, you're fucked every single round.
I know, this is fucking horseshit.
But a coin flip could determine a winner if there's a tie of 2-2.
No, there's no coin flip. Fucking Steven's fucked. That's all there is to it. I'm saying this on this show.
Hey, I did not say Sonny was. I am not a Sonny fan, so we got along last week. So shut the fuck up.
Captain Sonny O'Bannon up there drinking the Palm Bay. But anyways, so Steven, you want to talk about next show, and then who are your picks as far as the next tournament show goes?
So we went with the greatest gimmicks. I picked HBK, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Nature Boy Ric Flair, and I thought you would get off on this, the Ultimate Warrior.
Well, yeah, he was definitely top 2 for me, but you picked him, so I had to come up with other guys. Shawn, who are your picks?
I ended up picking Undertaker, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Mr. Perfect, and this one was a tough one. I'm a huge Goldust fan, so I went with Goldust, but I was tossed between Kane and Razor Ramon, and there were so many to pick, but I went with Goldust.
Jones, do you remember who you picked?
I know Yokozuna.
Yep.
After that, Bushwhackers, if they were allowed. But I'm fine if they're not allowed because they're a tag team.
We went with singles, so we had to omit the Bushwhackers and go with Kane.
All right.
And you had Jake and Honky.
Yes.
And then for me, I had The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Rey Mysterio, Roddy Piper. But like I said, narrowing it down to 16, it was tough because there's so many guys out there. We talked about going to 32. You could easily go 64, but case in point, fact is, Jones?
We can always do another one later, and then whoever wins that one can go against the winner of this one.
And it also allows us to do a WCW individual one. So there's still a lot of content, and eventually the winners of all of them could go into another tournament.
Very true.
Divisions.
So on the non-TNT version of the show right now, in the Scumbags of Wrestling Podcast, episode 106, by the way, Fantasy Warfare Tournament, hashtag FWR on TNT, patreon.com/TN Throwdown CA is the official address. Like I said, we're just doing it for fun, so I may transition things into making it available to everybody, but we'll talk about that further on. Guys, it's been a fun show. Last thing we're going to do is this, and it's been a tough week because of the fact Shad Gaspard, to everybody that's out there, I mean, obviously we touched about it on the start of the show, and obviously it's tough because it's not a regular wrestling death. It reminds me of Eddie Guerrero, just the way it kind of went down. Eddie had cleaned up his life. Shad had cleaned up his life, but definitely tough wrestling week. Memories of British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith passing away on May 18th. Owen Hart, May 23rd, coming up on Saturday. Obviously, Larry Csonka, one of the pioneers of wrestling journalism on the internet. And then obviously Shad Gaspard, just as of yesterday, official. But Shawn, how is Shad Gaspard? I mean, never really a standout as far as, one of the big tag team names that you're ever going to know as far as Crime Time goes. But just as a human being, it's tough, eh? And I mean, as wrestling fans, how do you pull through this to know that same shit's not going to happen next week?
Well, in this case, it was a accident with the fact that it was nature. It wasn't somebody ODing or getting assassinated for doing something stupid and skewering over the mob like Dino Bravo. It was legitimately an accident. Like, you can't predict them or anything like that. And, people are going to remember that he went out a hero saving his own kid.
All right. And follow-up question. Hawaiian shirts, is it going to be a common thing? Are you going to next episode of TNT or Scumbags of Wrestling? Are we going to?
That's my thing.
Oh, apparently it's copyright infringement. Jones is saying.
Infringement.
Well, I guess just at wrestling events.
Steven, how hard is it going to be to get you a Rocker Hawaiian shirt for next week?
Hard, because they would be in London and I can't go home because I don't know if you've heard that funny thing called COVID going on right now. I'm not sure if you've heard of it because a lot of people seem to have not heard about it.
But in that statement that you just said, you said they would be in London. So that's indicating you have one, but you mocked mine.
Oh no, mine's not as intense as yours, but I have them. I have a few. When I can get to London, I will definitely be rocking one. Randomly, you will not expect it either.
So can we make a deal? The first independent show that we go to after this fucking, as Steven calls it, horse shit, we all rock Hawaiian shirts?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, it could be in 2025 because fuck. People stay home, wash your hands, wear a fucking mask. I'm over this horse shit.
All right, so I'm going to kick us all off. Shawn's going to give us some closing comments on his birthday. We'll leave it to the birthday boy. Scumbags of Wrestling Podcast taking over TNT Thursday Night Throwdown tonight, May the 21st, 2020. Shawn, your closing thoughts as I kick these two off the air, and then myself, and then we'll give a couple seconds of silence for Shad there.
So, thank you, everybody, for joining us for episode 106. And, we are available on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts from. And join us on the Facebook page, Scumbag or Superstar of the Day, celebrating somebody's birthday. And be sure to check out when and how you can start ordering your poster and t-shirt to support independent wrestling, support sick kids in Toronto. And thank you once again for joining us. And we'll see you next week with results from AEW and whatever else happens in the wrestling world.